Hello, in this video I'm going to do an updated version of a previous topic I have covered, but that was done in the last patch or even the patch before that. So the things have changed a little bit on this subject, so I thought I'd touch on it again, and it has gotten even easier now to obtain 100% critical damage in your trials group without the need to use Warhorn, Elemental Catalyst, or even Saxhleel Champion. Any of those sets are not needed. I would not recommend using them anymore because it is way too easy now to just get 125% critical damage and have it never drop off. So let's get into this and see how easy it is to get 125 critical damage out of your trials group. Now, two main things are going to need to be present here. One, your DPS is going to have to be set up a certain way, and then your tank, one of your tanks needs to wear the Lucent Echoes set, which should not be a problem because it's pretty much a staple tank set and should be in your trials group anyway. So let's get into the numbers here. I've kind of written up a write up here in my mail. So everybody gets a base amount of 50% critical damage. And where you can see that is if you go into your critical or your character screen and you go into the stats right down here, look over to the right, and it will tell you that you get 50% as a base, and then it's capped at 125%. So this number that is sitting right here does not include that 50%. This is actually equal to 102% damage. Now this is where you get to look at how much critical damage your character has. This is where your critical damage is. If you're looking at this number, for example, this is not critical damage, this is critical chance. And that is how often you critically strike. So if you want to know how much critical damage is that you have to go into the advanced stats, hit the square button, and then this is the area here that you got to look at. So right now, just standing still here, I have 102 critical damage. Now, there's a couple of passives here that I'll go over those in a minute, but let me just go back into the mail here so we can cover how we get to 125%, and then I will show you where everything is at and how easy this is to keep at 125% the entire time without any drop-offs at all, no fluctuation. So, as I said before, everybody has a base of 50%. Now, in order for this to work and to be able to handle everything, and this is also a very optimal setup. I'm not choosing anything wonky or weird here. This is a very common, popular setup to run. But you need to pay attention to this so that you actually hit your numbers. The DPS needs to run 6 medium pieces of armor. Each piece of medium armor gives you 2% crit damage. So if you have 6 pieces, that's 12%. Fated Fortune is a Herald of the Tome passive that will give you 12%. Piercing Spear is an Aedric Spear passive that will give you 12%. The main tank wearing Lucent Echoes, or even if the off tank wears it, doesn't matter. It just needs to be in the group. You'll get 11% critical damage from that. Then the Assassination passive gives you 10% passively at all times. That is a true passive. We'll go into that in a minute in a little bit more detail. Then all the DPS should be wearing the Velothi Ur-Mage's Amulet, which is very optimal. That gives you minor force at all times, which will increase your critical damage by 10%. And then every DPS, regardless of build, needs to run the Fighting Finesse Slottable in the blue tree. That will give you 8%. Now, if you want to pause the video here, the 50 there is kind of cut off. I can't really get it to show better than that. But that 50 is the top part. Base amount is 50. You can go ahead and add up all of these. All of these are up at 100% of the time unless you don't create a Crux very often or spend one. And then if your tank dips below 50% health, which that should not happen for very long if it does. So those are the two things that can kind of trigger not happening here. So now that we've done all that, I'm going to cover everything in the list there. So let's just go to the medium armor here. And the passive that we're looking at here is the dexterity. As you can see, each piece of armor gives you 2% critical damage, and I have a current bonus of 12. Okay, then let's go to the Arcanist skill line, the Herald of the Tome, and we're going to look at Fated Fortune. Whenever you generate or spend a Crux, you will grant yourself 12% critical damage. Now, this has to happen every 7 seconds. Well, if you are flailing, like so, you get right there. I'm up to 64, which is 12 more than the 52 right there. So all you have to do is flail, and there it is. Back up again. That's the only thing that fluctuates. You can create a Crux, and then you can spend the Crux. That will also reset the timer. You can see the icon there. Maybe I should do it on the stronger dummy so they don't die. You can see how that resets that green triangle there. Now it's on the far right. As long as you keep creating and generating consuming Crux, that will reset. So that's the one thing that can fluctuate. Okay. So then we're going to go to the Aedric Spear passive, the Piercing Spear. All you have to do to get this is slot an Aedric Spear spell. You don't even have to use it. Here it is on the front bar. Here it is on the back bar. That's all you have to do. Slot one of these. I would recommend the Blazing Spear because it is probably the easiest to run in the rotation. You don't want to run Puncturing Strikes. That's a channel that's going to eat up your time. And you don't want to be hitting a javelin on something and knocking an enemy out of the way for your tank. I would just recommend this. It's got a synergy on it also, which is useful in groups. I would recommend using the Blazing Spear morph also. The other one is more of a healer skill. This one does a lot better damage. But there's the Piercing Spear passive, and then we're going to go into the Assassination skill line and look at Hemorrhage. Now, all you have to do again is have an Assassination skill slotted. So the top part of this, you'll recognize there's a paragraph here. Increase your critical damage by 10%. That does not shut off. The lower portion here, the paragraph portion, is separate. It's a separate statement. Dealing critical damage gives you and your group members minor savagery, which increases your critical chance by 6%, which is that 1314 number. I'll go over critical chance in another video. That's a whole separate topic. But this passive gives you 10% critical damage at all times, as long as you have an assassination skill slotted. And I've got on the front bar Incapacitating Strike, which handles that. And then right now I have Relentless Focus slotted, but going forward I'm going to have Reaper's Mark in that position. I've already done a video on that, but maybe I'll kind of cover it again in an isolated video. But there we go. That's how you have 125. Oh, and by the way, Velothi, has minor force at all times, in addition to the penetration line and the increased damage done to monsters by 15%. So that is how you get 125% critical damage at all times. And by the way, the champion slottable right here, fighting finesse, you want to make sure this one is slotted. Okay, now if your DPS run this, then you should be at 125% critical damage at all times. If you pick something else other than Aedric's Spear, you're gonna be 12% below the crit cap. So there's a couple of different ways you can fix that. You can be a Khajiit, and then it doesn't matter. Or you can have Brittle in group. Minor Brittle would give you another 10%, so you would be only 2% below. But I would recommend just running this. This is easy. You don't have to worry about keeping a debuff like Minor Brittle up. It's just easy as hell to keep up and operate. I would recommend running that over other setups. You can tweak it if you really start paying attention to stuff. You can always tweak it to get something else, but I would recommend running this setup and keeping your critical damage at 125% at all times. Again, you don't need Warhorn in this situation because Warhorn increases your critical damage by 20%, and that's going to be wasted because you're already at cap. Use a barrier or another defensive ultimate to keep your guys alive. Use Glyphic of the Tides on your healers if you're using the Curative Rune Forms Arcanist skill line. Glyphic of the Tides is amazing. It heals, it gives you weapon damage, and it gives you major protection. And it's a massive ring, and it lasts for 15 seconds, which is longer than Warhorn's major force buff. That's only 10 seconds. Use Glyphic of the Tides, and then this. You really will be melting stuff if you do that. There's no need to run Elemental Catalyst in your group. There's no need to run Saxhleel Champion, which gives you Major Force, which is the same buff as Warhorn. You do not need to run any of those sets in your group. Just run this right here, and you will be at 125% critical damage at all times with no drop-offs, as long as you keep consuming and generating Crux and your main tank stays above 50% health. It really is that easy. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'm going to post some more videos when I can. Take a look at my channel. I have separated my channel very organized with playlists on my YouTube channel. If you go to my channel and then go down to the playlists, check out my playlists I have made. I have playlists for tanking, DPS, healing, PvP, support DPS, crafting, farming stuff. I've covered a lot of different subjects, general knowledge, all kinds of stuff. Check it out, see if I've got any other videos you might like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.